Okay, so yesterday we did our first review of algebra, and we mainly worked with linear equations, right? We didn't have any x squareds. So today we are going to review what we learned yesterday, check our homework, and then we'll get into equations that have an x squared, quadratics, okay? So on the warm-up today, what I recommend that you start with number 1 is that obviously we're going to distribute first. So we're going to take that 3 and we're going to distribute it. So we've got negative 3x plus 15 equals 7 minus 3x. And then, like we talked about yesterday, we're just going to get all of our x's on one side and all of our numbers on the other side. But something strange should have happened. I'm looking at my equation because I like to look at things before I just start moving stuff around. And I notice there's a negative 3x on the left and there's a negative 3x on the right. Now, if I add 3x to both sides, well, this is going to cancel like we wanted it to, but that's also going to cancel. So I get 15 equals 7. And that should have happened on your homework last night as well. 15 equals 7. Is that a true statement or a false statement? Obviously, right? It's a false statement. So the answer to this problem is no solution. Or if you want to use the symbol, it's like a 0 with a slash through it. No solution. Yeah. Tricky, tricky. The opposite of no solution, like if we were to get, let's pretend we got 7 equals 7, and we just ended up there, that would mean that the answer is the opposite of no solution. It's all real numbers, or the symbol for that is a bold uppercase R for all reals, okay? Okay, let's do the second one on the warm-up. What did you think of that one? Whoa, there's a fraction there. And the ideal thing would be to cross multiply like we did yesterday. But to cross multiply, you need fraction equals fraction. So we need to turn this other side into a fraction. And now we can cross multiply. That's what I would do. So 7 times x minus 1 is 7x minus 7. And then 1 times 2x is 2x. We're looking good. I'll move the 2 and the 7 all at once if that's okay with you. 7 minus 2x is 5x. Add 7 to both sides. 5x equals 7. X equals 7/5. Remember, like I said yesterday, I actually prefer improper fractions. Like, that's my favorite way for you to write an answer. So please don't convert that to a mixed fraction. Please keep that as an improper fraction because they're easier to work with later down the road when we're multiplying fractions. It's hard to multiply 7 1/5 times 8 5/7. I mean, try to multiply that. But if you have two improper fractions, it's much easier to multiply. So we keep things in improper fraction form. Now, when you take on your calculator, when you take 7 and you divide it by 5, you get 1.4. That's a nice, pretty decimal. So if you put x equals 1.4, and it's not a repeating decimal, it doesn't go on forever, it has an end, you're allowed to put that as an answer as well. So both of those would be correct answers. All right, let's check that homework. By the way, we're going to do something on Monday where you do need a compass. So you need to buy or share or find a compass to use on Monday. I don't have 22 to send to all of you because I use them here in my classroom. Y'all can definitely share with each other, and they have all of these at the store. I'll try to, no, like a compass, like right here. This is a compass. This is a compass. It was on your list of things to buy for geometry class, okay? They might have some at your school, but probably not. So a couple of you can buy some and share them. All right, here are the answers to your homework. How did you do? Yes, this will all be on the video, the recorded answers, yes. All right, I'm going to work number 17 and 19, and if you think of another one, you just let me know. Oh, goodness. Okay, 17. That's weird. Oh, sorry. Okay. So 17, we are definitely going to start by cross multiplying, right? Because we have fraction equals fraction. Now, we did not do one like this yesterday in class. I'm going to write out my steps because I don't want to distribute incorrectly, okay? And this leads into something good that we're going to learn today, something that you might have forgotten, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is distribute this, x times x. It's not 2x, it is x squared. X squared. X times negative 4, negative 4x. All right. Now, on the other side is so important. Are you watching? That is not x squared minus 3, like when you multiply it out. You have to FOIL. Do you remember FOIL? First, outer, inner, last. FOIL. So not only do we have to distribute the x, but we're also going to need to distribute the 1, okay? X times x is x squared. X times negative 3 is negative 3x. 1 times x is x, and 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Now we have some good news. There's an x squared on the left, and there's an x squared on the right. They cancel. I can subtract x squared from both sides, or I could just know that, hey, they cancel. All right, let's clean this up a little bit. Negative 4x equals, let's combine like terms, negative 3 plus 1. Okay, now I'm going to add 2x to get all my x's together. They're best friends. They want to be together. So we've got negative 2x equals negative 3. And then we divide both sides by negative 2. Divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2. The negatives will cancel, and x is 3 halves. And remember, that's my favorite way for you to write it. Why are you writing pi? Okay. So that was 17. And then the other one you wanted was 19? I think. Let's see if 19. Okay. Okay, ready? 19 is not exactly like 17 because it is not fraction equals fraction. You see how on the right side of that equation, that's two separate terms. It's not one fraction. So we need to get a common denominator. Our common denominator is going to be 3. So I'm going to do this kind of quickly. If I want 4 to have a denominator of 3, I would multiply it by 3 over 3. So like that. 4 times 3 is 12, and 1 times 3 is 3. So instead of 4, I'm putting 12 over 3. Do you agree that 12 divided by 3 is 4? Yes. So I didn't change my number, but I got a common denominator. So now this says x plus 3 over 2 equals 12 minus x over 3. They have a common denominator, so I was allowed to combine them. Now it's fraction equals fraction. And now we can cross multiply. And I'm actually not going to finish this out for time's sake. 3x plus 9 equals 24 minus 2x. And I will let you solve from there because we need to get into today's review. So today we're going to keep reviewing, but this time we're not dealing with linear anymore. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This time we're going to work with factoring and with systems. Do you remember those words from last year? Yes, no, maybe so. Factoring and systems. We already talked about FOIL, thank goodness. So this is actually on your homework. So if you already have your homework, you don't need to write these down as notes. This is number 6 on your homework. This is number 6 on your homework. So let's remind ourselves how to multiply binomials. Abba, stop playing in the chat. Okay, ready? We have to FOIL. So we're going to distribute the 4x. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 3 is 12x. Then we're going to make sure we distribute not the 9, but the negative 9. That is not 9, that is negative 9. So negative 9 times x is negative 9x, and negative 9 times 3 is negative 27. And then we would just clean it up a little bit by combining like terms. So this would be 4x squared plus 3x minus 27. Notice we didn't solve anything. That was just good practice multiplying binomials. Bi means 2, so it's a number with 2 terms. Notice the first term, in parentheses there's 2 terms there, and then in the second parentheses there's 2 terms. All right. Now we're going to solve by factoring. And the first step to factoring every time, all the time, every time, is to make sure your equation equals 0. This is number 18 on your worksheet, so you don't need to write this in a separate place. This is number 18. We cannot factor anything until our equation equals 0. So what we're going to do first is we're going to bring that 18 over. Phew! Now it equals 0. Now we're allowed to factor. Okay? The first thing I always do when factoring is, I know it's going to be parentheses times parentheses equals 0. I know it's going to be a binomial times a binomial equals 0. First of all, you need to look at your x squared. Is there a coefficient on x squared? Phew! No, there's not this time. The coefficient is just 1. So I know that this is x and this is x. There's no guessing there. X times x is x squared. There's no other way to do that. Now we need to play with this number right here. Okay? So I want you to go off to the side and write 18. And I want you to think of things that multiply to get 18. 9 and 2, 6 and 3, 18 and 1, right? Good? So now we need to find out which pair could help me make a 7. Which pair could I make a 7 out of? 18 and 1? No. 6 and 3? No. 9 and 2? Ding, 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 ding. So you're going to put the 9 and the 2 in there, and I don't care where you put them. You put them anywhere you want. The very last step is to decide, are they positive or negative? Actually, it's the second to last step. I want to make a negative 7. I need a negative 7. Would I want to do 9 take away 2 or 2 take away 9? Well, I want it to be negative, right? So I want to do a positive 2 and a negative 9. That's how you would make a negative 7. A lot of people stop here and they say their answer is 2 and negative 9, but we are not done. We're trying to solve for x. We're trying to find out what x value forces this to equal 0. So you're going to set the first one equal to 0, and then you're going to set the second one equal to 0. Add 9 to both sides, x is 9. Subtract 2 from both sides, x is negative 2. When you have an equation that is a quadratic, that is an x squared, you know you're going to have 2 answers. So since it was x squared, I came up with 2 x values, 9, comma, negative 2. Those are both my answers. Solve by factoring. So step number 1, move everything to one side of the equation, okay? 2x squared minus x minus 15 equals 0. Cool. Now I open up my parentheses. And now I'm in a bit of trouble because I have a coefficient this time, 2. And that's going to throw things off a little bit. But I do know that the only 2 things that multiply to get 2 are 2 and 1. So I do know that one of these needs to be 2x and the other one needs to be x. But now I'm going to need to be a little bit careful when I do my other part. Here's the number that you go off to the side and you write. You write factors of 15. That hasn't changed. 15 and 1, 3 and 5. Thank goodness we don't have a lot of choices. Now we need to add or subtract those numbers and come up with, what's right here? We need to come up with a negative 1. We need to somehow come up with the number 1. Now the kicker is that one of those is going to get multiplied by 2. So we get to double one of these. We get to double one of these and we need to come up with the number 1. So let's try all of the choices just to see what would happen. If I double 15, I get 30. Can I make a 1 out of 30 and 1? No. Okay, let's try this one. If I double 1, I get 2. Can I make a 1 out of a 15 and a 2? No. So you lose. That pair is not going to win. Okay, let's double 3. If I double 3, I get 6. Can I make a 1 out of a 6 and a 5? Ding, 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 ding. So this pair is the winner, and this is the one that gets doubled. So if I want to make sure my 3 gets doubled, I'm going to want to make sure I put it in a spot where it's going to get multiplied by 2. And then his pair, who did 3 go with? 3 went with 5. And now we just need to decide who's positive and negative. We want it to be a negative 1. So do we want it to be 6 minus 5 or 5 minus 6? We want it to be positive 5 and negative 6. That 3 turns into a 6, remember. The last step of any factoring problem is to set both pairs of parentheses equal to 0. X minus 3 equals 0. X is 3. 2x plus 5 equals 0. Subtract 5 from both sides. 2x equals negative 5. Divide by 2. X equals negative 5 halves. So those are my answers. X equals 3 and x equals negative 5 halves. Can you put negative 2.5? Sure. Yep, it's on your homework sheet. That one was number, they always have the number by them. That one was number 14. Okay, we have to do one more. We might not have time for the quiz today because of our technical difficulties. We're just going to do our best. Systems of equations. I'm teaching this so fast, I don't even know what to do. There are 3 different ways you can solve a system of equations. Graphing, which we're not going to do in here. Substitution and elimination. When everything is set up, when all your ducks are in a row, look, the x's are together, the y's are together, and the numbers are together, then usually you're going to want to use elimination. That means we are eliminating one of the variables. Okay? This one is perfectly set up for elimination, so perfect that I don't even want to move anything. So the way that we're going to solve this one is we're going to do this right here. We are going to add our equations together. This is sometimes called combination. 1x plus 2x is 3x. Negative 2y and positive 2y, well, those cancel, which is what we wanted to happen. And 5 plus 7 is 12. X is 4. Once you have x, you can plug it back into either equation. It doesn't matter where you put it, either one. So I go back to either equation. I'll do this one. And instead of x, I'm going to write 4. And then I can solve it for there. Subtract 4 from both sides. 2y equals 1. Divide by negative 2. Y equals negative 1/2. And here's how you write your answer. You write it as an ordered pair. X, comma, y. And that's how you write that answer. X, comma, y. Okay. Yes, we're not going to use matrices in here. That's a good question. You'll do that in Algebra 2. You'll do matrices like crazy, I promise. Now, what do we do if our equation is not set up for elimination? This one, they're all in a row, but if I added those together, those would not cancel out. So let me just tell you what you would do, but even though we don't have time to do it. We want our y's to cancel because one's already positive and one's already negative. So I would need to multiply this one by 5 all the way through, and then I would need to multiply this one by 2 all the way through. So I would have 8x plus 10y equals 14, and I would have 30x minus 10y equals, oh my heavens, 18 times 5. Yep, 90. Negative 90. And then you would do what we did last time and you would add it together. But we don't have time for that right now.